Just wait, guys, for some technical issue. So once again, guys, good afternoon. Sorry for a mild technical issue and a warm welcome to everyone. At Project Astrofield's astronomical webinar, or ASTRO, we would like to thank our cosmic participants who are with us, finding time in today's event. Thank you, guys. So before we begin, let us first introduce ourselves. So my name is Maria Luisa Bernadette P. Dasco, the head of Partnership and Symposium Division at Project Astrofield. So just a little housekeeping, guys, before we get started. If you have any question during the presentation, please type them into the chat box and I'll bring them up during the presentation if necessary. But it's better to answer them at the end of the presentation. To keep the quality of sound functional during the meeting, please mute yourself when you are not sharing. I may also mute the room if necessary, but please remember to unmute when you wish to share. So let's start. To give you a brief background for November Astronomical Webinar, way back in 1964, two American radio astronomers, namely Robert Wilson and Arno Peñas, detected a strange radiation coming from space. It's supposed to be the leftover radiation from the Big Bang or the beginning of the universe. But what exactly is this radiation? Now, without further ado, let's find that out with our guest educator. Wait for a while.
Yeah, hi.
So our guest educator,
Am I audible?
so yes.
Okay.
So let's proceed. Our guest educator today is um, a professional member of American Association of Variable Star Observers, or AVSO, and American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, AIAA. He founded and named six asteroids during the International Astronomical Search collaborations. He became a NASA scientist for a day 2019 to 2020. Oh, wait. There you go. Mhm. So let's go back. So our guest educator today is a professional member of American Association of Variable Star Observers, or AAVSO, and American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. Um, AIAA. He founded and named six asteroids during the International Astronomical Search collaboration. He became a NASA scientist for a day from 2019 to 2020, first position worldwide in first ever Fermilab live trivia conducted by Fermilab, America's premier national laboratory for particle physics research, winner of Go for Guru Space Challenge in association with NASA, 15th global position at NASA Space Ops Challenge 2020. He received a recognition of exceptional outreach for his research on planets and their moon by the NASA Night Sky Network. He has obtained numerous scientific certificates, one of which is astronomy, exploring space and time from the University of Arizona. He has been consistently recognized for academic excellence. One of his research interests is the gravitational waves and their relation to the dark energy particles. Have a keen interest in data observed and obtained from the LIGO, Large Hadron Collider, or LHD, and Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna. Previously, he published an article in AIAA entitled "The Cosmic Microwave Background: An Experimental Investigation Using WMAP." So, without further ado, please give her a virtual round of applause. Mr. Suryansh Saxena live from Noida, India, and he will give us some valuable knowledge about colorful radiation of the universe. What is cosmic microwave background? So the floor is yours, Mr. Saxena.
Yeah, thanks a lot for this warm introduction and a warm welcome. And I'm really very grateful to Project Astropath for providing this opportunity and means for counting my accomplishments in the starting of the webinar. I thanks Alexander for providing me and calling me for as a guest lecturer in this session. So without any delay, I guess it's already time. We are late already, so we should begin with our session so that we can end up as soon as possible. So just anyone can let me know that if my screen is visible or not. That's a second.
Yes.
Is it visible or not? Okay. Okay, so what we are here for, the topic is the colorful radiation of the universe. What is the cosmic microwave background? So we'll study in depth. I have not kept it mathematical as many of you are below the age of 17 or 18, and many of you have not attended any university yet. So it will be a bit complicated because it includes integration and differentiation of university level that you would, many would probably not be comfortable with. So I just kept it a theoretical and a bit easy. Some concepts are a little high standard, like we will talk about photon decoupling and the microwave radiations. So because the microwave is the base of the cosmic microwave background, so it would be a bit complicated, but if you means have a will to understand, you can understand it easily. That's not anything that can be difficult to understand. Okay, so let us begin. So this is the introduction about the cosmic microwave background. So the cosmic microwave background is also called CMB or CMBR. Here R stands for cosmic microwave background radiation, or just we commonly call it cosmic microwave background. It's in Big Bang cosmology is an electromagnetic radiation, which is a remnant from the early stage of the universe, also known as the relic radiation. Why we are calling it the relic radiation will be answered shortly in the further slides. So, what's the CMB actually is? The CMB is a faint cosmic microwave background radiation filling all space. Here, all space means everywhere. In it's like multi-directional. Whether you are living on Earth or you are living on any other planet in any in the solar in our solar system or any solar system you visit, any universe, any galaxy, any nebula, everything, everywhere you can find the cosmic microwave background. Okay, so that's why the term I used his here is all space. So it is an important source of data on the early universe because it is the oldest electromagnetic radiation in the universe, dating to the epoch of recombination. The terms I am using here, like the epoch of recombination or why it is important source of data on the early universe, will be explained briefly in further slides. So with a traditional optical telescope, like we use with a mirror and a small body, like 700 focal length or like examples, the space between the star and galaxies is completely dark. So this is a point to be focused upon, that is to be focused upon, like if you see the sky, you see two stars blinking, there's a space in between them, you see a dark void, means nothing. That nothing is not actually nothing, there is this radiation present, but we can't see with the optical telescopes because optical telescopes reflect and refract light from the object and collect and it deliver it to your eyes, so you can see the object. But for viewing the cosmic radiation, you need a radio telescope. So moving forward, however, a sufficiently sensitive radio telescope shows a faint background noise or glow almost isotropic that is not associated with any star, galaxy, or other object. This glow is strongest in the microwave region of the radio spectrum. This also we will read that why this radiation have been in placed in the electromagnetic radio spectrum. So the accidental discovery of the CMB in 1965 by American radio astronomers Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson. These were the two astronomers who accidentally discovered. I will tell you the story how it is discovered was the accumulation of work initiated in the 1940s and earned the discovered the 1978 Nobel Prize in Physics. So for this for their research and for their investigation on the CMB, they received the 1978 Nobel Prize in Physics. So actually, before moving forward, I would like to tell you a short story about the discovery of that cosmic microwave background. So Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson was the scientist for working for Bell Laboratories in New York. So many of you must have heard about Bell Laboratories because Alexander Graham Bell was also one of the most prominent member of the Bell Laboratories. So they were just looking for a solution to provide a better communication by radio waves through satellites. So they accidentally discovered a faint fuzz or faint that ups and downs in the graph coming from the space. So they just ignored because they was thinking that it was just maybe a disturbance from noise from the traffic or something else. So they just ignored it. But after every experiment they do, they receive the same fuzz again and again. So they try to clean their that antenna. The antenna used was, I guess, the Hornbell antenna. Yeah, the name of the antenna, the radio telescope was Hornbell antenna. So they used the Hornbell antenna, they cleaned it, they means repaired it, and they replaced the parts of the antenna to clear that first, but still it was coming. Then later they draw the graph of the when they do the graph of for the that first they observed that it is not a first that not a that noise first, but it was coming from the space in the form of microwave background. So Then it was discovered that the universe was not empty. The space between the stars is filled up of something called the microwave background, and since it is coming from the cosmos, they named it the cosmic microwave background. Okay, so moving forward, CMB is a landmark evidence of the Big Bang, origin of the universe. We will see it further. When the universe was young, before the formation of stars and planets, it was denser, much hotter, and filled with a uniform glow from a white hot fog of hydrogen plasma. As the universe expanded, both the plasma and the radiation filling it grew cooler. We will study in great detail, means in the further slide, we will study it about it. When the universe cooled enough, protons and electrons combined to form neutral hydrogen atoms. Unlike the uncombined protons and electrons, these newly conveys atoms could not scatter the thermal radiation by Thomson scattering. This you must have heard in your 9th or 10th grade, I guess, Thomson scattering, because in India we heard you introduced in classes from 5th or 6th, Thomson scattering. And so the universe became transparent instead of being an opaque fog. Cosmologists refer to the time period when neutral atoms first formed as the recombination epoch, and the event shortly after when the photons started to travel freely through space rather than constantly being scattered by electrons and protons. The plasma referred to as photon decoupling. Don't worry about these terms if you're not getting it now. What is photon decoupling or what is recombination? I write just an introduction to introduce you about what we are going to study further. Okay. So the photon that existed at the time of photon decoupling has been propagating ever since, though growing fainter and less energetic, since the expansion of space causes their wavelength to increase over time, and wavelength is inversely proportional to energy according to Planck's relation. This also you must have been studied in your high school or in your senior grade in 10th or 12th, or maybe students have been learning about from their own curiosity that in 10th or 9th also. This is the source of the alternative term called relic radiation. So basically, relic radiation, the term here, relic radiation means something that is from the ancient times and still persists. Means the cosmic microwave background have been traveling since the Big Bang. Means 13.8 billion years ago it started traveling, and it's means it have its existence in the sky, though growing fainter, but still it is there present. So that is why we call the term the relic radiation. Relic means, according to Oxford Dictionary, relic is the word called something that is ancient or something that can't be completely vanished. So that is why we use the alternative term relic radiation. The surface of large scattering refers to the set of points in space at the right distance from us, so that we are now receiving photons originally emitted from those points at the time of photon decoupling. So this is the example you can see from your daily life also, like you must have heard in your cosmic classes, like that the things you see in the sky, like the sun or the moon, they are not the live images. Like the sun, if you are seeing, it's the 8 minute early before image, like you are seeing now, that's the image of the past. The sun, the position of the sun where it was 8 minutes before, or the sun or the moon, if you're viewing the moon, that's the position where it was 3.3 3.5 I guess minutes ago. So light takes time to travel. It travels at a speed of 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second square, as you all know. So it take time to travel, like something like you are going to from your home to your university or your college. So you that went out of your home at exactly 12 p.m. and at exactly 12, and you are taking some time to reach at a constant speed, to reach at the college at a constant speed, like at 12:10 you reached your college. So immediately after just stepping out of your home, you didn't step out in the college, so in your university, so you took time. So similarly is the case with light. The light started traveling, but after the distance is had to cover with the speed of light, it takes a lot of time to reach from there to us. So that's the image of the past. So similarly, the photons that left the cosmic micro, the background, soon after the Big Bang, after photon decoupling, are now being received in the form of microwave. Why it is in the form of microwave, that also I will explain in the further slide. So let's move further. So basically, CMB denotes the temperature of the universe. Okay, the temperature of the universe means what temperature is it? Like in India, it's currently 11 or 12 degrees Celsius, above zero, absolutely zero. So CMB gives the exact temperature of the universe, even the temperature of the time when the universe was infant, and by that we can guess at what temperature it was when it just began. Soon after the Big Bang, the temperature was so much millions of degrees of Fahrenheit that even the protons and electrons were not allowed to combine due to their excitement state. This must have read that the electrons are excited in your chemistry class, in your chemistry sessions or your physics sessions maybe. So protons and electrons combine to form a neutral atom. So the temperature was so much high that the electrons and protons were always in the excited state, so they were not allowed to combine due to their excitement state, as mentioned here, because of the temperature. The temperature provides them the energy to separate and segregate, and then the electrons get excited and are never in combined form. Due to the Big Bang impact, it started to drift apart at a very high speed, and approximately 378,000 years, it was much drifted that the temperature dropped to around 3000 Kelvin, which was sufficient to de-excite the electrons to combine with the protons to form atoms, which later give them the term photon decoupling. Okay, so how will I explain it? At the beginning of the universe, the temperature was, as mentioned, millions of degrees Fahrenheit. Exact temperature we also don't know what was the temperature of the universe. Like you can guess 10,000 million times the temperature of a sun at that time. So protons and electrons were not allowed to combine due to their excitement state because they were having a lot of energy, and so they were not allowed to means combine. So as the universe drifted, as you all know that the universe we are drifting apart, and you must have read about the redshift. We will study a bit about redshift further, even though it's out of topic. But to give a context, I included in my slides. So the temperature just the universe were drifting apart, and you know that as you take some a hot source away, so the temperature gets dropped immediately. So that is what I am stating, that it was after 378,000 years, it was so much drifted, means so much the things are so much apart that the temperature dropped around 3000 Kelvin. Okay, like you are placing a heater near you, 2 or 3 meters away from you, and you are feeling the warmth like 50 degree or 60 degrees Celsius. And if you are keeping a heater 1 kilometer or 2 kilometer away from you, the source is the same, you are the same, the heater is the same, the temperature is same, but you are not feeling the exact warmth what you were feeling when it was placed 2 or 3 meters near from you. So that's the same case. So it was much drifted that the temperature dropped to around 3000 Kelvin, which was sufficient to de-excite the electrons to combine with the protons to form atoms. Now the electrons were not receiving enough energy. This line states that the electrons were not receiving enough energy, so they can't excite and form leave the atoms. So they were forced to combine with the protons because electrons need a source of energy to rotate, revolve around in the shells. So the electrons were de-excited and the electrons combined the protons to form atoms, which later gave the term photon decoupling. So photon decoupling, exactly what is photon decoupling, we will study further. So it's just a synopsis of what we are going to study. To summarize, it can be said that as the universe expanded, the distance between objects grew. In a short line, what I said, I gave you the heater example, the 2 meter and 2 kilometer, then this is the same. It can be said that as the universe expanded, that is, as the distance between objects grew, the temperature of the universe became colder and colder. At present, at now, in 2021, 27 January 2021, the temperature of the universe is about 2.7 Kelvin as calculated by different space probes with a high accuracy. Okay. So with a high accuracy, we can depend on the James Webb Space Telescope because it will also study the CMB, as well as it will do the part of the Hubble Space Telescope, and as well as the that Planck satellite. What's the Planck satellite? We will study further. Okay, so this can be a change, but it's quite impossible to change like the point 2.7 or 2.777. We can get a decimal. We can get one more place of decimal after 2.7, like 2.69998 or something with a more accuracy. Okay, so that's the main term. What is photon decoupling? The universe was a dense cloud, as well as we all know. Like up soon after the Big Bang, the universe was just a cloud, means a cloud, a dense cloud, opaque cloud, from which from outside you can't see anything, what's inside it, and from inside you can't see anything, what's outside it. So the question is that how did light escaped out of the opaque cloud? Okay, so the thing is that how the light just passed away from the opaque cloud. So like I will provide you an example, like all of you cosmic students make a group and just run in a classroom, in a small classroom, or with a small opening, with a small door opening. So if you just means like scattered, like I guess there will be around 50 to 100 students in a class, near approximation. So like if you are having a 50 or 100 students in a class, like I guess a number like 100. Okay, so 100 students are like 50 girls and 50 boys. They are just means I say that run in the class, there is a small opening, but and I have to move from one end to the door. Okay, I am standing in the most corner, and I have to go to the opposite corner to exit. And I said that you all just run in any way, any direction you want to. Okay, so I will move a step forward, and means see that, just suppose that someone came in front of me and he pushed me back. Okay, so he moved. Now I moved 2 steps forward, then another girl came and collided with me, and I just moved 2 steps back again. Now I am again moving. Okay, so and again someone collided, because the collisions were so much random that the photon, that I am a photon, you all are electrons and protons. I just considered you as electrons, and the classroom and the door is the small opening that from where the light will escape. So I am not having any chances to move to that corner to just go out and explore the world outside, what's outside the classroom. So I was just moving forward and you pushed me back. I was moving forward and you pushed me back. So that's the case. Now I say that all of you 50 boys and 50 girls make a pair, make a couple, or just means a boy and a girl, and then move. So I will have a more probability to reach out the end, means to the that corner, because now first the scattering was of 100. Now the scattering will be of 50, because 50 I am saying because one now there is 50 pairs, not 50 individuals. Okay, so less the people in the room, means the people are same but the less the crowd. So it will be more systematic for me to move. I will have the collisions, like I am moving, I will collide with a pair. Now I will collide with a pair, I will move back for again, but the probability or the chances of getting me to that corner I can exit is more. So this is the same case. The universe was a dense cloud. So I was a photon and you are electrons and protons, first moving in a zigzag direction, because like the teacher have said that I will not come in the class. So you all were very much excited. So you were just moving in the scattering way. Now you just heard the notice that the teacher is going to arrive in the class after 5 minutes. So you were means de-excited, or you were less excited. So that's the case. Okay. So the universe was a dense cloud, as we all know. So the question is, how did light escaped out of the opaque cloud? So soon after the Big Bang, around 378,000 years, the temperature and pressure was fair enough for the free electrons and protons to combine. This was 378,000 years after the Big Bang. Before the Big Bang, the temperature was so much that the protons and electrons were always in excited state. So they were never means combined. So after 378,000 years, the temperature that due to 3000 kelvins, so the temperature and pressure was fair enough for the free electrons and protons to combine. As a result, the trapped photons, like I was the photon trapped in between you, which was bouncing back and forth previously inside the opaque cloud, had a way to escape. Means now I have to just overpass 50 people, 50 pairs. First, I have to overpass 100 pairs, 100 individuals, then 50 pairs. So which is more better, 50 or 100? Obviously 50. So I had a more probability or chance to, I will collide. Okay, that's not a case that I will not collide at all. I will collide, but I have more probability and chances to reach out the corner to escape. So soon photon left the low density cloud and decoupled from the electron proton cloud, and hence referred to the photon decoupling. Decoupling and coupling means in it's like I will explain in the form of a train. You must have all seen a train that the engine are coupled with the whole train of bogies, and when the train reaches the platform, then the engine are decoupled from the rest of the train. Okay, so coupling means to join something, and decoupling means to make it free, to make a separate parts or segments. So decoupling here refers to photon decoupling, as photons were made free from the electron and proton, the cloud, the opaque cloud. Okay, so that's why it is termed as the photon decoupling. Means the whole role is played by the electrons and protons. The scattering the scattering particles were electron and proton, but who was affected? Me, means the photon in the class. Okay. So the photon had left the cloud 378,000 years ago and shining all around the cosmic microwave background. So the photon that left the cloud 378,000 years ago, the light traveled from there 378,000 to 13.6 billion years ago, 13.7 billion years, and is reaching us to us now. And they're being captured by radio telescopes, strong radio telescopes. So means the light that traveled from that point at when the universe was 378,000. 378,000 is the age of infancy. We call that the age of infancy, or the infant universe. Okay, so when the universe was infant, because the total age of the universe 13.78, and infant means in like our human language, infant is said that 2 years or 3 years is called an infant. And when we are grown up like 20, or then we are called an adult. So the similar cases with the universe is adult now, and at infant was when it was very very young, like 378,000 from 13.8 billion is not a very big part. It's just a small tiny fraction. So are all shining around as the cosmic microwave background. Okay, so picture is shown in further slides. I will show you. See, this is the illustration. Like here is a proton, Okay, this is a cloud. Imagine it as a circular cloud, and here is a proton positive and an electron negative. So first of all, the scattering was very much like, see this, I will take the example of this photon is moving in the direction, and suddenly this electron come in the way of this photon, so then it will reflect back. Now it's moving this way, now this is scattered with this proton, so it will again reflect back. Similarly, it's moving, now it's this electron collision, then proton collision, then electron collision, then proton collision, then electron collision, then again electron collision. So it doesn't have a way to escape. Now, before, this was the case before recombination, when the temperature was so high that the electron and protons were not able to combine. The second case is after recombination. Like after recombination, the pairs were made like proton, electron, proton, electron, proton, electron, and proton, electron. This was basically the hydrogen atom. We will study further. So now the photons have much space between to escape. Like see, first it was scattered. Now I made the pairs. Like I said that couple yourself with along with girls and boys, 50 pairs, make 50 pairs each. Now they made a pair. Now this photon will be scattered. There is a chance that it will be scattered from this electron and go back, but the probability or the chances are very much less. See, like if it went here, is scattered, then there is an open space, so it can escape easily. So this is the photo picture before recombination, and this is the picture after recombination. I hope this is clear now. What is photon decoupling? Okay, so moving further, the like it's invisible light. You must have read about the electromagnetic spectrum. So which electromagnetic spectrum this photon decided to be in, or what electromagnetic spectrum, or why did the electromagnetic spectrum, like in microwave, why did photons choose the microwave in for the cosmic microwave background? Why it is not called the cosmic X-ray background, like as they mentioned, cosmic X-ray radiation or the cosmic ultraviolet radiation? Why only microwave radiation? Okay, so the answer is in redshift. You must have heard, because this is a very basic concept in astronomy and astrophysics, about the redshift and the concept of blue shift. I will give you a bit synopsis for those who don't know. So you must be imagining why these photons are known as cosmic microwave background, and why not cosmic X-ray radiation or ultraviolet radiation or gamma radiation and radio radiation, like cosmic radio radiation, or you can say cosmic visible light radiation. So many types of radiation are there in the EM spectrum. So why it chose only microwave? So the answer lies in the concept of redshift. It can be better explained by the image below. This is the image. I will show you in the next slide again. So this is the image. Like the photons is moving in this way, in this direction. The direction, the symbol of direction is given wrong here. So the photons are moving in this way, like here. We are standing here, okay. And soon after the Big Bang, after the photon decoupling stage, like the photon just set free from here. The wavelength is so small that it was in some other radiation, okay. Now as it grew cooler and had to travel the distance, the less the energy, means the more they travel, the more energy they are using, and the less energy they are having by with themselves, okay. Like as you are traveling 2 kilometers by walk, so you ate just take an example, in the breakfast you took 2 kilojoules of energy, and you are moving 2 kilometers by walking. Now you are spending your energy, you are not taking energy, you are spending energy in the form of heat, like you are sweating, or your body is producing heat, you are sweating, and you are walking, and you are speaking or something, you are speaking with your friend who is moving along with you. So the factors that by which you are spending energy depends on, means there are many several factors that can take your energy. So just the same illustration is here. Like the photon started, it is traveling, it have to travel 13.8 billion years, okay. So 13.8 billion years it has to travel. So the less the energy, the more the wavelength. So it is getting tired. See, first it was very frequent, the frequency is so much. Now it is getting tired, it is more getting tired and more fatigue, the means the photon is suffering from fatigue, okay. So this is the redshift. This is the concept of blue shift and redshift. I guess I don't have to explain it anymore, because you must have already read it in your cosmic classes, because it's the basic of astronomy and astrophysics before we start anything further. So still I have given you a synopsis of what is blue shift and redshift. So see, the more the thing is near you, it appears you to as blue, and if you are moving away from it, then it will appear you as red. So this is the same concept in blue shift and red shift, and this is the concept, this is very much important in understanding the baby picture of the universe at the infancy stage. Okay, so we have that image from WMAP, probably like from 3,78,000 years before image how the universe was present. So as the concept of redshift and blue shift changes the wavelength of light traveling away or towards from us, and as the wavelength changes, the position of the wave also shift from the visible band to the microwave band. See, just take an example. I'm not talking about anything, because just a photon, because what lights you are using in your room is also a photon ray of photon is traveling, falling in your falling on the object, gets reflected, get into your eyes, and you are seeing that object. Okay, so it was a visible light, the photons was invisible light, but it has to travel so much that the energy grew smaller and smaller and smaller. So the wavelength also changed the position of the wave. So the in the electromagnetic spectrum, it grew so much smaller that it lies in the microwave spectrum. So that's what I'm writing, that the concept of the redshift and blue shift change the wavelength of the light traveling away or towards from us, and as the wavelength changes, the position of the wave also shifts. The position of the wave also shifts from the visible band to the microwave band. Okay, if you want the whole electromagnetic spectrum, you can just check it out on Google, the EM wave spectrum. You can get the energy band, like it's I will say gamma rays on the top. Okay, then X rays, then ultraviolet, then visible, then infrared, then microwave, and then radio waves. It is the same in the same order of frequency and energy, the decrease in frequency. Okay, so the photon became less energetic, as it is had already lost most of its energy in traveling. Like you are traveling 2 kilometers from your home, just as the fun walk you are taking around the park, or 2 to 4 kilometers with your friend, and you are traveling and losing energy. So it had already lost most of its energy in traveling, and it's starting cooling down. So this brings the cosmic radiation in the microwave band. So this was only the explanation available for why it's in the microwave band, and this was also not available anywhere on Google or that. The I made a research paper, and I found it that why it's in the microwave spectrum and several other factors. So this was one of the factors that why it is in the microwave band. Okay, so this is the baby picture of the universe. Like this is a present picture, like how the universe was present, three was the how we look like 3,78,000 years, or approximately 3.8 lakh years before, just after the soon after the big bang. How was it? So this is the image you must have seen in many books, or wherever they talk about astronomy or astrophysics, they means just display this picture, because this is the most common picture. Before means I heard the term cosmic microwave background, I had this picture in my mind. Like I didn't knew that it was anything about related about CMB or anything, but I just had a look somewhere in Discovery or Discovery Science. This was a logo for the program. Okay, so this is very common image. You also must have seen. I guess I'm sure that 50 to 60% audience must have seen this image before also. So this is the baby picture of the universe. The pink part here is the photons that decoupled after the photon decoupling. The blue is the slightly cooler. The slightly cooler is like 3.873 Kelvin cooler, and this is 0.873 Kelvin hotter. Okay, the exact terms I don't remember. I guess it's I have written in further slides that I will provide you later. So this is the photons. These all are the photons. This is just a slight more cooler, that because it's more far away from us, and this is a slight hotter. Like the difference between is plus minus 0.0853 Kelvin. Exact figure I don't know, but it's like 0.085 Kelvin, something approximately. So this is the baby picture of the universe. The whole spherical. This is a whole spherical picture. This is not an oval. This is a sphere, and a sphere, or better, a sphere compressed from a top, just like the Earth. Okay, so a oval sphere, you can say. So next thing is why to study CMB. Like what we know now, we know what is CMB, how it was made, why it chose the microwave background, how did it look at the time of the Big Bang. So this study is important because this is the only radiation we know till date which is of the same age as of the universe. That is 13.81 billion years, and hence giving it the name the first light. So if anybody tells you that, tell us something about the first light, or what is the first light, or why it is called the first light. So we read everything before in the previous slides, like why it is called the first light. The answer is here also, the same age as of the universe, and nothing is more older than the universe, 13.81 billion years. And how it formed, you can say that it was formed up when the temperature was so high, the photons, electrons combined and recombined, then photon decoupled. Okay, you can give the example of the classroom scattering. Okay, this scattering is called Thomson scattering. The one thing I forgot, this scattering, the scattering of small particles from the other another particles is called Thomson scattering. So you can read about in detail on Wikipedia. It's available on Wikipedia what is Thomson scattering, or you must have been read in your course textbooks also, because Thomson scattering is a part of the academic syllabus in schools. Okay, So why it's important? It is important to know more about the cosmos and to find out how the universe began. At what temperature did the giant explosion took place? Giant explosion refers to Big Bang. How was the universe in the past and what will be its image in the future? Because glow of the first light is present in all direction throughout the universe. It is special because it's present across the globe too. I will give you a suspense means how can you feel the CMB? How can you see the microwave background radiation in your at your home by just not going anywhere, not any expense about anything that you have to do something experiment or buy a radio telescope or an optical telescope to watch CMB. I will just provide you a simple method where you can see the radiation of microwave radiation. Okay, so the because glow of the first light is present in all direction throughout the universe everywhere, even if you are moving your hand, you are moving it in cosmic microwave background, because the microwave, because earth is also part of the cosmos. So each and every planet, each and everything, each and every sun, moon, nebula, that galaxies and clusters, everything is consist of everything. The CMB is present everywhere. So it is special because it is present across the globe too. I will provide you a suspense fact or fun fact. How can you just experiment it by yourself? So what does it do? So what does the CMB do? Why we have to study CMB? So the entire sky is a source of microwave in every direction, and its presence can be felt when we deal with modern technology. For example, in point-to-point communication links. Point-to-point communication links is like I am doing engineering and electronics and communication. So we will be studying point-to-point communication links and wireless networks and microwave radio relay networks. So these are just high-level examples of what microwave can do. So point to point communication links is a type of communication like point to point, like I call here to Alex. Okay. So I am calling to Alex and he's speaking. So my point, I am communicating to his point. So this is called a point to point communication. Wireless networks, you all are using 4G, 3Gs and all. Microwave radio relay networks, radar, satellites, or you can see spacecraft communication, medical dimetry and cancer treatment. In cancer treatment, chemotherapy, mainly the microwave is also used. Microwave that uh, radiation is used to kill cancer cells. Remote sensing and radio astronomy. Remote sensing, you must have heard, to control and to just observe where the satellites are present at your, often the national satellites, where the national satellites are present currently and what are they studying about. So it comes under remote sensing. Radio astronomy. Radio astronomy is very common. Particle accelerators like Fermilab or CERN, you must have heard, the Large Hadron Collider, LHD. Spectroscopy and many more. Spectroscopy is a bit high concept, so we will leave. Just remember the name, that spectroscopy is an example of microwave, the application of microwave. Okay, so here's the suspense or the fun fact, like exploring more and more where you can find the microwave radiation. So how can we learn more about it? So several space missions have been initiated to study CMB and to do a deeper study of analysis of the background radiation. The exploration began years back with the Cosmic Background Explorer, commonly known as COBE. So COBE was launched around in 1989. Okay, the year I have not mentioned, or maybe I must have mentioned somewhere. Okay, so COBE was launched in 1989. The exact date I don't know, but in the year 1989. And during this period, the technology wasn't so advanced because in 1980s the technology was developing. Okay, so it was just a basic of we knew that there was something present, and NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, have to means go first in everything. So they weren't having any technology at that time. So they just developed the COBE and sent it with the very basic equipments to just capture the image or to just see what is above. So by which you can see clearly that the radiation look like. It just gave an outline of the radiation, that there is something present, that the what Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson discovered was real from the top. Okay. So a major advancement in technology was seen by the launch of the Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe, also known as the WMAP, which gave the deep and clear image of the microwave background of the universe. We will study about this probe in further slides. Okay, so this is the reason why we are concentrating on WMAP, because with no technology at the time of COBE, we didn't have any technology at that time. But soon after the advancement of technology, like many horn antennas and rotating wheels and radiation wheels and that antenna, radio communication, relays, point-to-point communication, everything is present in WMAP. So till 2001, it was launched in 2001. Exact date I don't remember, but it was launched in 2001. You can see the exact date further. So in 2001, between this the span of 10 years or 12 years, the technology was so much high that we can now study more about that cosmic background. So that is why I've chosen the specific probe WMAP. Even Planck was better. The Planck satellite was launched in 2009 or 10, 2009 as a successor of WMAP. But I didn't choose Planck because what WMAP saw and what Planck saw was comparatively same. Just Planck's satellite that resolution was a bit high. But WMAP I have chosen because from no technology, then it had the technology. It was the first probe I would say that have a piece of technology that was clearly depicting what the microwave background is. Okay. So more advanced satellite called the Planck satellites were launched as the successor of WMAP to study a bit more about it. The same results with a high accuracy, more at point, or like say WMAP has provided the age of the universe 13.81. This Planck satellite has provided 13.813. So this is the only difference what Planck satellite and WMAP had. Okay. So this is the structure of COBE. As you can see, this is a very so old structure or the ancient structure we used in the first satellite. So these are the solar panels and this is the main body. This is a reflector and this is the Omni antenna. Omni antenna you will study further. What's it? This is the WMAP, the first advanced space telescope, and it had a design of this radiation wheel as the same as the James Webb Space Telescope that is going to launch next month. This is the Planck satellite, more compact, more powerful, just as the Hubble Space Telescope. Okay, so moving on, for the ease of finding microwave, I'm sorry, the fun fact is present here. Like the microwave radiation is amongst most common radiation that can be found in scarcity on Earth as well in space. Finding microwave isn't a tough task or rocket science that requires a lot of effort. As I was saying, you don't have to spend any money or do any that hand burning experiments. You can just look at turn on your microwave oven, and that would give you the pleasure to taste a bit of it. Like I am saying that you cook you means use your microwave oven to make the things hot or make things warm. So how you are doing it, from where the microwave oven is extracting the microwave. So that's the question. Okay, so that is why I'm saying that you will give you the pleasure to taste a bit of it. You will have a pleasure to taste a bit, means you will eat the food that have been warmed or that have been made hot by using the microwave from the universe, from the cosmos. Okay, so just from this source, you can notice why is the oven called microwave and why does it heat. Okay, so why does it heat is basically the example that I took before. The temperature of the universe is maintained by the cosmic microwave background. The same temperature of the Big Bang as it is growing cooler and cooler. So currently it's 2.7 degree Kelvin. Microwave just collect and accelerate the temperature and reaches to 100 or 200 degrees Celsius as per your requirement. So here's a fact about microwave, that microwave radiation have a frequency of 300 megahertz to 300 gigahertz and a wavelength of 1 meter to 1 mm. So it's in a band and range that can be accessed by simple instruments like a microwave oven. Or I will provide you with the example. Best example is that the old televisions, ancient televisions, anyone was having the box television, not the LEDs and LCDs. Even LED and LCDs are having that feature. AV feature, you must have noticed the button of AV. Okay, first we are having the cable television, now we are having dish and antennas in our home. So you must have seen a AV temperature present on the top of the remote. When you press the AV temperature, a small insects appear on your screen, like black and white insects. Okay, so that is the radiation of the cosmos. That is the microwave radiation. Exactly the same image you can see here. This one, the same image in black and white form. Like the black ones are the cooler and the white ones are the hotter. The same image you can see on your TV. So that the television work on the basis of, means some part of the that LED or whatever the light emitting is the part of a microwave, uses a microwave. So when you are viewing your TV, you can see that there is a same image formed that time by the WMAP or by the COBE or Planck satellites in your TV also, in your televisions. Okay, so that's why written that it can be accessed by simple instruments. So moving on, this is the last topic and the end of the end of this lecture. That what is the Wilkinson microwave anisotropy probe, or the WMAP, commonly called the WMAP. First, it was called the microwave anisotropy probe, but David Wilkinson, who was also the founder of that cosmic microwave background, was working in the Bell Laboratory, as I introduced you before to him. So he was working on this project, and unfortunately, he passed away before the launch of the satellite. So after a petition filed that he did a very great job in finding and something would be named about him. So after the launch of microwave anisotropy probe, it was just called the microwave anisotropy probe, the MAP. Okay, in some places still it is called the map, but to give a respect and to tribute to David Wilkinson, because only of him we are studying CMB, and because of him only I wrote my first research paper in cosmic microwave background. So NASA just agreed to put Wilkinson, the surname of the scientist, before the probe names. Now it's called the Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe. Anisotropy is a term, I will introduce you the term. You must have been studied in your academic as well. Anisotropy means the temperature difference, the difference in temperature. Like you can see, this is a graph of the anisotropy. Like here it's more warm, here it's more cold. The same means that change in the temperature, or the change you can see, the fluctuations of the temperature are called anisotropies. Okay. So what is WMAP? I will read it. There's nothing to explain about because this is the fact from Wikipedia only. The Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe is a NASA Explorer mission that launched in June 2001 to make fundamental measurements of cosmology, the study of the properties of the universe as a whole. WMAP has been stunningly successful, producing a new standard model of cosmology. We are not going to talk about the standard model of cosmology because it's the lambda CDM model, the lambda cold dark matter model. So it's a very bit complicated model. If you anybody want to study, I have been means given it great detail in my research paper. I will provide you the link, or you can ask from your the president, so he can provide you the link of my paper. So you can study, if anybody is interested, you can study about the lambda CDM model. So universe as a whole means it studied everything, like the temperature of the universe, the Hubble's constant, the new value of Hubble's constant, what is the redshift, what is the blue shift, why we are moving, why, and what conforming then that in it is present in the microwave radiation, the temperature of the universe, the age of the universe, everything gets studied. Okay, so there is nothing left about the universe that this didn't study in the radio astronomy. That radio astronomy is different, and the optical astronomy, in which we just observe the shape and size of the galaxy, the star, nebula, planet, and we find anything on the planet, water, finding water on moon, that comes in the optical astronomy. We are talking about radio astronomy, like the age of the universe, the facts that aren't visible to us by a telescope comes in radio astronomy. Okay, so WMAP measurement played a key role in establishing the current standard model, the lambda CDM model, lambda cold dark matter model. The WMAP data are very well fit by a universe that is dominated by dark energy in the form of a cosmological constant. Other cosmological data are also consistent and together tightly constrain the model. In the lambda CDM model of the universe, it's like you can see the age of the universe is 13.772 plus minus 0.059 billion years. See the accuracy and the precision of the probe. Okay, the study. So the lambda CDM model is just a part. The age of the universe is this, and this is also by calculations and by providing mathematical formulas and doing what and studying the temperature and all. We finally calculated the temperature this much, at 13.772, or rounded off to 13.8 billion years. Okay, so it's just a part of lambda CDM model. Now you can guess how long and how much deeply the lambda CDM model can be studied or is made prepared. So the WMAP mission's determination of the age of the universe is better than 1% precision. Okay. So moving on further, this is an example of lambda CDM model, like the dark energy in the universe. What WMAP calculated that the dark energy covers 71.4% of the universe. The dark matter density is 24%, and only 4.6% are atoms. Atoms like us, we, carbon, hydrogen, sun, moon, that planet, and anything present on the in the universe in a solid form, like galaxies, stars, nebulas. Okay, water on moon, maybe there is water on moon, so the water on moon also combines in atom because it is also a form of H2O, and H2O is a molecule even though it's made up of atoms. So the universe comprises only 4.6% atoms. We all are made up of atoms, so we are just a fraction of the universe. A much greater fraction, 24 of the universe, is a different kind of matter that has gravity but do not emit any light, is called dark matter. The biggest fraction of the current composition of the universe, 71% of a source of anti-gravity, sometimes called dark energy, that is driving an acceleration of the expansion of the universe. So this is the reason why the universe is expanding. This is not related to CMB, but WMAP observed. So I just, as a fun fact, I included in my slides that 71% is the source of anti-gravity that is driving an acceleration of the expansion of the universe. This is the reason why the universe is expanding. Okay. WMAP has also provided the timing of epoch when the first star began to shine, when the universe was about 400 million old, or 3,380 million old, 3.78 lakhs. Okay. The upcoming James Webb Space Telescope is specifically designed to study that period, that has added its signature to the WMAP observations. WMAP launched on June 30, 2001, and maneuvered to its observing station near the second Lagrange point of the Earth Sun system. I will show you where the second Lagrange point is. a million miles from Earth in the direction opposite to the Sun. Means you are moving toward Neptune. Okay, if Neptune is here, not there, opposite side of the Sun. Like I am guessing that you are the Sun, I am the Earth, and at the back of me there is the wall, that is the Neptune. So from Earth it was launched at the back, not towards you because you are Sun, and it was launched before. Okay, so that's the second Lagrange. I will provide you the exact location of second Lagrange point. A million miles from Earth in the direction opposite to the Sun. From there, WMAP scanned the heavens, mapping out tiny temperature fluctuations across the sky, and these tiny temperature fluctuations are called anisotropies. The first results were issued in February 2003, with major updates in 2005, 7, 9, and 2011. And now this final release. This final release means in 2012. The mission was selected by NASA in 1996, the result of an open competition held in 1995. Means they just like all must having any competition like for selection of a poster or that a display in the school, that the best out of all will be selected for the display. So the same was there, the result of an open competition. Several companies, not the school competition, several companies like big companies had projected their idea. Several universities like the Princeton University was having a separate idea, and this WMAP was a project of Princeton University. So because David Wilkinson was a professor in Princeton, so Princeton University sent their ideas, Harvard University sent their ideas, and several other universities like the Stanford and all, Oxford. So the winner of the competition was the Princeton University in 1996. It was confirmed for development in 1997 and was built and ready for launch only 4 years later, on schedule and on budget. Means the probe was not very highly high in price. It was in budget. The same price it was, means like I'm saying that I have to make a probe of 300, like in India I use rupees. So if I have to use a project of 300 rupees, or standard I will take as a dollar, like $300. So it was made $300, not more than the cost of expectation. Okay, like I'm expecting that it will be uh, going to be built in 300, so it was built in 300. Okay, so on schedule. And this is the fun fact that it was just made 4 years later after the confirmation for the, and it was launched in 2001. Okay, so this is the whole timeline of the universe. We studied the inflation. Inflation stands for the Big Bang. The inflation, from a single point, the universe started. It exploded. Quantum fluctuations made it explode. A chain reaction happened. Afterglow pattern, it's 3,75,000 years, or 3,78,000, or 3.77 billion years. Yes, million years. Sorry, million years. So this is the image of the baby picture of the universe which we saw before. We will see further. This is the image taken by WMAP, not the COPE. Okay, these are the dark ages because everything was forming. Like the protons and protons were combining to form atoms. Atoms were combining to form molecules. Molecules then grew to form galaxies, stars, nebula. So these are the dark ages in which everything was forming. Nothing was there. So development of galaxies, planets, etc. in this whole area in 13.77 million years, Big Bang expansion took place, and we are currently here, WMAP, because it that it was sent to the stellar graveyard in 2011 after the end of the mission. Graveyard is something. Stellar graveyard is after the end of a satellite's lifetime or the end of a satellite mission. We move it or direct it towards the area where the junk or the waste satellites are there, because they can't that deviate or distort the path of the satellite that are being used currently. Okay, like the space debris, it will become a debris, so it goes into a graveyard for the safe disposal. That, like, you must have heard few days before, the ISS have to be maneuvered and the Russian Soviet capsule have to be emptied because there was a that warning for debris collision from the Russian satellites. Okay, so this is the whole timeline of the universe. This is from the NASA WMAP science team only, from the Princeton University. These are the components of WMAP. I will zoom it a bit. So the components is this, just a brief. It is obviously not made of only these components. There are several other things used. So these are the main components: upper omni antennas, FPA box, feed horns, thermally isolating instrument cylinder to maintain the temperature. Star tracker is to locate the direction of the star or the nearby star so that it can make a sphere, because it just work on the relative mapping. Reaction wheels help the probe to turn around in a 360 degree. Okay, like you are having a steering, so it is having a reaction wheels. Deployed solar array web shielding for protecting the probe from the heat of the sun. Warm SCN instrument electronics. This is the top deck. This whole is a top deck above which these instruments are placed. Passive thermal radiator, secondary reflector, dual back-to-back Georgian optics. Okay, 1.4 into 1.6 primary reflectors. So these are the parts and components. Need not to worry about it because few are there. I also don't know what they do. Means these are all the basics, and I just provided the basic parts, and more advanced one. Even some parts are there that even I don't know why and what they were for in the WMAP. Okay, so how does it work? Onboard WMAP are two main type of instrument: optics, which focus on the incoming radiation, and radiometers, which amplify and convert the microwave signal into something that can be measured and transmitted back to Earth. Like, see, on the top deck, it consider of the optics, like the dual back-to-back Georgian optics, only a mirror, reflectors, these are also mirror, omni antenna. Antenna is something that they use to communicate to from Earth station to the probe. FP box, feed horns, these are all optics. Optic means something that captures by seeing light. Okay. Below is SC electronic deployed solar reaction wheel, star tracker, thermal isolating instrument cylinder. These all are means used for transmitting or just making the shape or giving the direction to the probe. So there were two main type of instrument: optics, which focus the incoming radiation, and radiometers, which amplify and convert the microwave signals into something that can be measured and transmitted back to Earth. During each 6-month orbit, WMAP took one complete picture of the sky. Means I have already told that it's a sphere, not an oval. The baby picture of the sky, it is an oval. It is compressed like you take a ball, football, and compress it on the top and from the bottom equally by applying equal pressure. Then it will become an oval sphere. Okay. So during each 6-month orbit, WMAP took one complete picture of the sky. From this data, which was refined during each orbit, scientists got clues about the nature of the universe and its origins. Microwave radiation or relic radiation is the part of the electromagnetic radiation spectrum, and its wavelength varies from 1 mm to 1 meter, and its frequency lies in the band of 300 gigahertz and 300 megahertz. As I told you earlier, this line is again copied here. Heat between a source and a recipient can be transferred in three different ways. By conduction, you must have, I'm sure, pretty sure that you must have studied in 9th or 10th standard in your academics that heat can be transferred by three methods: conduction, convection, and we are talking about these two only. So heat between a source and a recipient can be transferred in three different ways: conduction, when the two are in direct contact, similar to when you touch a hot glass; convection, when the heat is exchanged by a medium, generally fluid, similar to when a hot air contacts colder air, or like you are just applying a geyser, a heating rod inside water, and the water gets warm. And when you are putting your hand inside, from the heating rod, the water is getting the temperature, and from that water, your hand is getting the temperature. So that is by convection. And the third is the radiation, that doesn't require any medium to like the first one in the conduction, you need to touch the hot plate or anything hot, or you are touching directly the heating rod. In convection, you are not directly touching but indirectly touching through a medium. Radiation doesn't require anything to touch, like the microwave. When you use the microwave oven, you don't just place your dish or what you are heating on the that rods which are present in the microwave oven or OTG, like because I have to make it warm, so I will directly pick up that dish and put it and means make it place at the rods, because I need direct transmission of heat. So that's not a idea, and I would suggest that please don't do such things. Your microwave oven will get damaged. So radiation, when the heat is exchanged by the means of an electromagnetic wave, like it's the radiation causing microwave background radiation, because the heat is transferring through an electromagnetic wave called microwave, which requires no medium to spread. For example, the warmth conferred by the sun's light that travel millions of miles through void empty space. Like the sun, you're not touching the sun, you're not touching anything between it. So the sun is passing rays in the form of photons, in the form of ultraviolet radiation, infrared radiation, and ultraviolet, mainly sun rays consists of UV rays. So UV rays is type of electromagnetic spectrum. In the electromagnetic spectrum it is placed. So ultraviolet rays is coming from the sun and touching you, and you are feeling the warmth of the rays. Okay, so indirectly you are feeling what the sun is giving, you are taking. So the warmth conferred by the sunlight that travels millions of miles through void empty space. So this is the example of heating by radiation. Okay, I'm covering the academics also. I prepared this slide by means just keeping the mind the academics also. So this is the only radiation present in the background of the cosmos, which give us an insight about the initial and present temperature of the universe. I'm talking about the microwave. This is called the microwave. As the time passes, the presence of CMB is declining and the temperature is gradually falling down, and soon we are having a expectation that the universe will end up by cooling down. The big freeze, it's called the freezing era, or the big crunch. Like we have made several probability and possibility like how the universe will end. So if this is true, the CMB is declining as it is true, because first the initial temperature was 3000, then 30 Kelvin, then 2.7 Kelvin. Now it's presently 2.77 Kelvin. So the it is declining, and we may end up in a freeze. Okay, big freeze, the whole universe. The temperature is gradually falling down according to research. When the universe was in the compact stage, and all of the microwave radiation was confined within a small space, the initial temperature was 1 billion degrees, or 109 Kelvin, million Kelvinites. And the present temperature of the universe, when the microwave is not confined and spread over a large infinite area, is approximately 2.73 Kelvins. Okay, so that is what I said, that the temperature is currently constantly declining, like from 1 billion degrees, or 109, this is 109 million kelvins, to 2.73 kelvins. So just see the difference. Okay, so we can say that microwave radiation is helpful in preserving the temperature of the universe. Okay, so because what's the temperature of the universe currently? Because the universe don't have any temperature. What is the temperature you're observing, this 2.73 Kelvin degree? And what the ISS, there are several experiments carried out to check out the universe, the smell of the space, the taste of the space, and to check the temperature of the universe, the space, ISS, International Space Station. So they also observed 2.73, mean this is the purely microwave temperature, and no other radiation or temperature is present in the space. So if the microwave radiation is means present in the space, then there is a temperature. It is now declining as we are moving forward. So the lesser the energies, it is becoming less energetic. So it is declining, and it will soon decline to zero. Okay. So we can say that microwave radiation is the only source of temperature present in the universe, which is helping to preserve the temperature of the universe. But it's to a fact that the temperature of the universe degraded with time and is continuing to, as I said, again repeated. Okay. So this is why I chose WMAP, observations of the CMB, Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe. WMAP launched in the sky 2001, launched in 2001. First all sky map released in 2003. The first data set was released in 2003, and the last data set was released in January 2011 and was kept securely with NASA, and was lately, like in 2012 or 13, it was released for the general public to research upon. See, this is the second Lagrange point. I will zoom it a bit. Like we are having 5 or 6 Lagrange points. So this is the sun. This is the L1 Lagrange point between the sun and the earth, the position of the sun and the position of the earth. So this is the L1 Lagrange point. This is the L2 Lagrange point, opposite from the direction of the sun, because there is a reason why it was launched in the L2 point. Because if it was launched in the L2, L4, L5, or L3 point, then L3 would be too far to communicate to the earth. L2 is a suitable position because it could not take any radiation, any temperature radiation from ultraviolet due to the sun, created by the sun, and then the temperature fluctuations will be more. Okay, so this is the L2 Lagrange point. This is the sun, opposite to the direction of the sun. This is the L2 Lagrange point. This is the L4 Lagrange point. This is L5, and this is L3. Like L1, L2, and L3, L4, L5. Okay, so WMAP orbit at the L2 Lagrange point. Comparison of WMAP and COBE results, minus dipole and anisotropy. Forget this term minus dipole. It's a bit complicated. So COBE is the Cosmic Background Explorer. The first without any technologies were launched. Just NASA had the curiosity to launch something into space to study about the microwave radiation. So it just launched, and see, you can't see anything. See, I will zoom it a bit. It is completely like blank. It's just a sphere with a small fluctuations, like blue area or green area, something like that. Okay, but later with technology, WMAP was launched, and you can see the precision, like each and every bit, each and every detail you can see. Okay, like blue color and everything, every color is separated, segregated from its parent origin. Okay, so moving on, next slide. This is the reason why I took WMAP, because it was just a technology shift, or the advancement in technology from the COBE to the WMAP. Okay, so this is the last slide, I guess. Okay, achievements and results. The WMAP science team had determined to a high degree of accuracy and precision not only the age of the universe, but also the density of atoms, the density of all of the non-atomic matter, the epoch when the first star started to shine, the lumpiness of the universe, and now how that lumpiness depends on the scale size. In short, when we use alone with no other instrument, WMAP observations have improved knowledge of the six numbers. Six numbers is, I will tell you later. The lambda CDM model is related to the lambda CDM model by a total factor of 68,000, thereby converting cosmology from a field of wild speculation. Speculations is like you are just assuming that the temperature must be 3 Kelvin, or the age must be 15 billion approximately, or 13.4 billion approximately. So that is a speculation. Wild speculation means you are speculating yourself that the age of universe 13.7, but you are thinking that it must be 20 billion or 10 billion or 5 billion. Okay, so that's why I have used the term wild. To a precision science. Precision science means you are calculating with a great precision 13.77773 billion years. Okay, for example. So WMAP baby picture of the universe here, this one. After the universe maps the afterglow of the hot young universe at the time when it was just 3,75,000 years old, when it was a tiny fraction of its current age, 13.88 billion years, 13.77, sorry, billion years. The pattern in this universe baby picture were used to limit what could have been possibly happened earlier and what happened in the billion of years since that early time. Means from the time of the epoch of recombination or the photon decoupling till date, till 27 November 2021 and continuing. Okay, till the WMAP is till James Webb is released in the sky. Where was I? Huh. The pattern of the in the baby picture were used to limit what could have possibly happened earlier and what happened in the billions of years since that early time. The misnamed Big Bang framework of cosmology, which posits that the young universe was hot and dense and has been expanding and cooling ever since. It is now solidly supported according to WMAP. Means WMAP was just a theory, not any experimental proof. Some suggested that it was a part of the early means a different universe, or some suggested that anything that there was no Big Bang, or it was formed as a in a bubble or in a shell like that, or early previous universe just collided and then suddenly just expanded and that created our universe. So many factors and many point facting factors were there, point affecting factors about the Big Bang. But by the launch of WMAP, everything that the Big Bang theory stated were framed to be true. So it just now supported what the Big Bang was saying, what was the temperature suggested by Big Bang, what was the temperature suggested by Big Bang, and that is supported by WMAP. The WMAP results we got is practically and experimentally very accurate and precise. So WMAP observations also support and add on to the Big Bang framework to account for the earliest movement of the universe called inflation. The theory says that the universe underwent a dramatic early period of expansion, growing by more than a trillion fold in less than a trillionth of a second. Means the time in which you blink an eye, the means the trillionth second of the time in which you blink an eye, the universe just expanded trillion kilometers away. Okay, so tiny fluctuations, because it is all quantum physics. Quantum fluctuations are more than the speed of light. In there means there is a new particle, you must have heard of tachyons. They are much faster than light. Okay, hypothetical particle, yet they are to be discovered. So tiny fluctuations were generated during the expansion that eventually grew to form galaxies. Okay, the temperature fluctuations you can see here. The temperature fluctuation, like some part in that it was 2.0.8085 plus Kelvin, and it in some point it was 0.0.085 Kelvin. So these differences in the temperature, or these regulations of quantum fluctuations made to form galaxies, like you can see in this picture, the whole timeline. See, galaxies were started forming from this point. Stars, then galaxies, then Earth, cloud, and whatever must have been read in your cosmic classes. Not going to that detail. Okay. So last thing is that it is something of your excitement for how I use the space agency data, because WMAP was a project of NASA. And for reference, we considered the data for our research work from HTTPS NASA. You can see the website. I used Open Data 2 and combined the data which I obtained from the official website and made a suitable output. The official data was used in my research work very, very effectively and actively to finalize the data and to make a concrete output with minimum errors, so that the data I'm using may be precise and with a means accuracy. So the sources and references, the first one is of my paper, research paper. If anybody want to read, you can have it on the page of Project Astrophile as well. This is the NASA website. This is a Wikipedia. You can read it in a great detail about WMAP. In a mathematical, it is given a bit mathematics, so there is a chances of your not understanding things till you reach the university or college level. And this is about the CMB, the cosmic microwave background. So thank you. This was all from my side. Any questions now can be asked in the session itself.
Thank you, Mr. Um, What a wonderful discussion po. And wait lang. Um, so, thank you for giving your one valuable insights on cosmic microwave background, sir. And okay, today let's now go with our Q&A portion. Okay, Mr. Oriel Tumanan, you have question po?
Am I heard right now?
Yeah,
Yes
yeah,
po.
yeah.
Good evening, Sir Suryansh.
Good
So
evening.
my question would have to be about the temperature of the universe. Will there be an instance in the future where the specific temperature of the universe right now, which is apparently 2.7 Kelvin, will get colder? And if so, what do you think would happen to the cosmic microwave background radiation?
Okay, so your question has your answer itself as you're asking the what will happen when the temperature will be zero. So what will happen to the cosmic microwave background, as I explained you it in the slides 4 to 5 times, that the temperature only depends upon what the about only about the cosmic microwave background, the microwave radiation present in the universe. So if the temperature will go to zero as the microwave is currently expanding and we are constantly redshifting from the other galaxies, and that so the area is expanding of the universe. The universe is somewhere opaque till now. We are living inside an opaque universe as suggested by WMAP and the result from the infancy of the universe. So after that, the temperature will definitely grow to a zero, because first you can see that it was millions of Fahrenheit, then it grew to 3000 Kelvin when the photon got de-excited. Then it grew colder and colder to 2.7 Kelvin as of now. So not in 2 to 3 years. Don't worry about that. In 2 to 3 years, or till you will means probably working somewhere in NASA or in ESA or wherever you want to. So you will study CMB. You can study till now. You have millions of years still to study, because in 2 to 3 million it degrades a degree Kelvin. Okay, so maybe after a million year it will turn about 1.77 Kelvin or 1.5 Kelvin. So at the end we are just on probabilities or just speculations, like I said, while speculation that the universe can be stellar, like it will become a cold graveyard for all, because the temperature of there will be no temperature in the universe, like anything which will go above like any space shuttle can be frozen if they don't have any proper heat transfer and all heat measurements means just to make it warm and cold, to keep it warm. And the temperature will definitely go to zero, but not any soon now. Just wait for the time to means million another billion years, I guess another 2 to 3 billion years it will take to go to the temperature, because from 3000 you can just make a simple mathematical calculation, like from when the age was 3,78,000 years or 3.78 million years, the temperature was 3000 Kelvin. And now after you can subtract from 13.8 billion 3.7 million, and what you get is the temperature is now 2.7 Kelvin. Okay, so the temperature grew colder around 2998.3 kelvins, okay, in the time of 13.3 billion years. So in 13.3 billion years, the temperature grew colder about 2900 Kelvin, 2998 Kelvin. So you can take out the by doing a simple mathematical the calculation that in 1 year how much the temperature will that grew colder. So you can have a exact date and exact time at what exact date and year after how many years will the temperature go to zero.
Thank you so much, Sir
Okay.
Suryansh.
Anything else you want to ask about this? You can. Yeah, can we move on to next questions?
So we have a question from Patricia and Constantinopla. Why is it called
Okay.
background?
Okay, so it's the basic. I start in the starting only. The background is something like I am using this background. The you provided Project Astrofy provided me this background, and I can see Urlin Tomanen is sitting inside, is also sitting inside a background. Alex, you are also sitting inside a background. Means why it is called a background? Background is something that completely fills everything besides you. Okay. Or that completely fills whatever you can see. It's completely like I can see myself in just this background. Okay. So background is the term that relates to anything that is completely filling something. Like the window, my window is completely filled by the background of Project Astrophile. Okay, like Luisa is sitting, I can see the whole background about Project Astrophile, and similarly with Uril also. So background is a term that relates to anything that fills up completely, a space that is completely filled up, a particular space. Okay, so universe, it is called the background of the universe. I will answer again also. It is called the background of the universe because it is completely filling the universe. The whole universe is a background. Okay, like just I am applying a small background here of the Project Astrophile. Okay, so similarly the universe has applied a background of the cosmic microwave, like microwave radiation. So it is present everywhere, in every direction you can see there is a background. I mean there is a radiation, so it is called background.
Okay. We
Okay,
have a
sir.
clarification from Miss Patricia Ann Constantinopla. What sort of telescope is used to observe the CMB?
Okay, see that also I told. uh, CMB is to observe radiation like microwave background. You can't just see by a optical telescope because you can't see radiation with the optical telescope. You can't see that I will go and see the radiation. I can see the radiation. Okay, the radiation is blinking. I will take out my my binoculars or my telescope and see in the sky. I can see just dark spaces between the two stars, like a star present, like example Cyrus A and Cyrus B. I can see only between the dark space between them, are completely void. Okay, so, but the universe is not of this color. In the night also, it is of orange color. You must have studied because we are seeing the universe in visible light. If we see in the microwave radiation, the whole universe is orange. And like if I go on outing and I'm planning a night out with my friends to go and watch the cosmic microwave background. I will take out my telescope, optical telescope, and go and see with the binoculars. Like I can see the microwave background at the top. So that would be a little bit kiddish example. So it's a little bit funny example. So it is called, the telescopes we use is the in radio astronomy, the large array. You must have seen Atacama array. Okay, so we are using basically the Atacama array telescopes for the observing the microwave background. Secondly, several radio astronomy telescopes and the Hornbell antenna, like in the Bell Laboratory, that is still being used, or the radio telescopes or the radio antennas that can be used for the observing of the radiation. Anything that can capture radiation can always can means you can have a look about the microwave. So just the type of telescope he asked in the question. So we can't do anything that's not related to anything with the optical telescope. With the optical telescope, you can just do the optical or physical astronomy. For radio astronomy is a complete department in astrophysics. For means if it is a complete separate segregation of department in astrophysics, like radio astronomy is a separate course. So for radio astronomy we deal with radiations and anything, because the universe is a complete radiation. You are just, I talked about microwave. You can see ultraviolet radiation coming from the sun. You can see x-ray radiation because we have that Chandra x-ray telescope. You must have heard of the Chandra x-ray. So we are learning about x-rays from there, or we are learning about radio waves from on the earth, on the ground based telescopes, from the radio dish antenna, large antennas, 1.2 meter or 1.4 meter sub-millimeter arrays. So these are the telescope that can be used. So optical telescopes are of no use, like the Hubble Space Telescope is of no use about the, if we are talking about the micro radiation, any sort of radiation, not only microwave, any sort of radiation we are talking about. So Hubble Space Telescope or the Kepler telescope or any sort of ground based telescope is of no use to watch the microwave radiation. And optical telescopes, radio telescopes that are used for radio astronomy, like the one WMAP, you can see WMAP has no mirror, means the no like structure like the Hubble one, that it consists of a primary mirror, then light goes inside, then the data is transmitted. So they are used to just capture the photons and deliver to us. Okay, so microwave is not a photon. It was photon, but it traveled to electromagnetic spectrum in microwave. So we are using radio telescopes for the viewing purpose of microwave and studying it. I hope it clears.
Thank you, Sir Saxena. So now So there's another question. So, Miss,
Francis is having.
Namaste, Mr. Question will be, what does SEM know about the density?
your
It's not audible.
can you please type your question in our chat box na lang po?
I'm sorry.
So, our question is about what does temperature variation and CMB show about the density of our universe?
Okay, see, the temperature of the universe is like the universe was dense initially. Okay, so as the temperature variations in the universe, the temperature, like I said, the whole map of the universe is the map of the photons that decoupled and traveled to us, 13.5 or 13.6 billion years soon after the Big Bang. After soon after 3.7 million years, they traveled to us. So the number of photons, you can see the number of photons that are captured by WMAP or the current Planck satellites, or the will be captured by the James Webb Space Telescope, can be easily related to the form of the universe that was before 3,75,000 years. Like we can have it, like I said, that the universe was extremely dense, and because of the Thomson scattering, I just explained the recombination and the recoupling era of the universe in a detail in my slides. So we can clearly see that as it was dense, the temperature was very much high. As the density grew smaller, means I will share my screen again, just a second. I will explain you from there only. It would be better and a great answer to that. Just a second. Okay, see. Okay, so when it was see, the density was more because the electrons and protons were more temperature excited, and they had an energy to excite themselves. So the temperature was very much okay. As soon as the things grew further and further, okay, like first we were sitting 2 kilometers away, now we are sitting 1500 kilometers away. So that's the same example. As the area of the universe grew, because it was currently expanding because of the dark energy. As I said, that the dark energy is an anti-gravity source that expands the universe. Currently 71% of the universe comprises of dark energy. So dark energy is said to be formed at the time of the universe soon after the inflation era. So as soon as the universe started, the expansion of the universe started, and the area under which the opaque cloud was present, grew more and more. Okay, means more the area getting, means the universe was expanding currently. Okay, so it started expanding. So the things that were close enough grew further and further. So the temperature also grew cooler. Means, like I just gave an example of the heater I was using in my home, like 2 to 3 meter, or something that is present 2 to 3 meter in near your body. It is providing you direct warmth, and then you are keeping it 2 to 3 kilometers away. It is providing you some temperature, maybe 0.1 or 0.2 degrees Celsius, but that is of no use. So the density increases as the area increases. Okay, so the area is increasing, and the more the temperature fluctuations. See, the like I will give you simple example, like positive and negative attracts. Okay, if you try to uh, make a positive side, south pole of a magnet attracted toward the south pole of a magnet, then you can't. Okay, it will repel, because positive and positive repel, and negative and positive attracts. So that's a similar case, like the temperature fluctuations. These are called the quantum fluctuations. I am providing you the answer in simple languages, because this is a mathematical answer what she asked. How does the temperature variations in CMB show what the density of the universe? Because these are not just the temperature variation, these are the quantum temperature fluctuations. Okay, so I use the term variation because I have to not go any mathematics, because most of you are not going to university now. So I just use the temperature variation and a simple term, anisotropy. The temperature variation is called an anisotropy. So the more the anisotropy, means the area you are expanding, the universe is currently expanding is area. Okay, but the rate of production of the things, like the rate of production of galaxies per second, how many galaxies are being formed, or per second how many that are being found, stars are being found, is completely dependent upon the cosmic microwave background, because microwave provide the initial heat to the star to form. Okay, and as the temperature is, like she said, what is the temperature variation in CMB? So as the temperature is growing cooler, like the temperature is becoming colder and colder and colder, the initial heat or the starting temperature is not being provided to the galaxies to be formed. So the densities are constant in the universe. Meaning somewhat there is a constancy in the universe. Like if there are 30 galaxies all over around the universe, in a hypothetical world, I'm creating a 30 galaxies, and after few years also you will notice that there are 30 galaxies, but you must be having a doubt that in 30 years maybe there are one or two addition of galaxies, that like initially it was 30, later it will be 31 or 32. But you also notice that there is a great probability of the stars dying and the galaxies being evaporated. Okay, so one thing is that there is a constant degradation, or there is a constant formation of stellar graveyards inside a galaxy. Like two stars die and two stars born, it's the same thing. Okay, so temperature fluctuations and quantum fluctuations or temperature variation is in anisotropy in the CMB shows that the density of the universe. This she is directly talking about the lambda CDM model. I just gave you an example of lambda CDM model. What I was talking about is the same thing about what the lambda CDM model suggests. So I gave it a small brief in my slides also. So if you want to learn more about how the CMB variation, temperature variation in CMB matters, if you're not satisfied in the answer or you want to know more out of your curiosity, you can learn or read about the lambda CDM model. It is easily available on NASA website and I guess on Wikipedia. So in mathematical form also you can study, because this is all maths, because they have to make a direct relation that the temperature is directly proportional to the density. Now how the density is denoted by rho. Rho symbol you must have heard, P slightly bent from down. Okay, so it is denoted by rho. So rho is directly proportional to temperature. Temperature we see temperature variations we take as delta T, delta triangle and T. So rho is directly proportional to delta T, means that more the temperature variation, the more the densities. But the temperature variations are being growing colder and colder, so the density of the universe is somewhat constant. In general form, I'm saying. Or I can
Thank
type the spelling. You can read it about lambda CDM model whenever you are free or if you are interested.
Thank you, sir. We will surely look for it po. So, the participants, even though we want to accommodate all your question, but because we are over time, maybe next time, so we will be we'll be presenting our certificate. Right now, we will now proceeding awarding of our virtual certificate. Project Astrofield Partnership and Symposium Division. This certificate of recognition is presented to Mr. Suryansh Saxena in recognition of his invaluable sharing of expertise as a guest educator for the astronomical webinar entitled Colorful Radiation of the Universe, What is Cosmic Microwave Background? Given this 27th day of November 2021 in Antipolo City, Philippines, signed by our founder and president of Project Astrofield, Mr. Alexander Monte, and the head and of Partnership and Symposium Division, PSD Ms. Maria Luisa Bernadette P. Dasco. So there you go.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this.
Thank you, sir. And thank you again, Mr. Suryangs. And I think we're good for now. But before we end this, we would like to request to open your cameras. And wait, open your cameras po for photo opportunity and documentation. Okay, wait for a while. I think it's good now. And 1, 2, 3, go. And another one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, everyone. And before you leave, it was a pleasure being with you all today. And wait for a while. we will be presenting our code po. Presenting here. So thank you everyone. It was a pleasure being with you all today. We have come to an end of our webinar. I would like to thank everyone who made this event possible and to Mr. Saxena for his presentation. Thank you, sir. And of course, we would like to apologize for some technical wait, there is a question. Of course, po, the video recorded of this. Okay. Going back, and we apologize for some technical issues lately and for the overtime, and I hope you learned a lot. And of course, we want to acknowledge Mr. Oriel Tumanan. It's our pleasure to have you here po, sir. It's very unexpected po. And if you didn't know po, Mr. Tumanan is a founding member of Astronomy Enthusiasts Society. He is also one of the first batch of BS Astronomy graduate in New Era University. Thank you po, sir. And of course, to all Cosmic participants, don't forget the code in your screen, and for the Google form link in the chat box, or scan the code here for certificate of your participation. So before you leave, guys, the organization vice president have a message, Mr. Maximus. So, wait. Okay, Mr. Maximum is not here. So the message will be coming from our founder and president, Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander, do you have any message?
All right. Thank you once again for coming. We hope to see Soryansh again in a future astronomical webinar. And we hope to see you Cosmic participants in December for another astronomical webinar. Thank you all, and always look up at the stars and not down at your feet. And always remember, together, we build the future. Clear skies, everyone.
Thank you for our president, and you can guys now leave. But once again, participants, don't forget about the code for the Google form in the chat box po for your certificate of participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much po.
Thank you.